Hello everyone, we have to discuss about the बाजीराव एंड रबी की mock interview test देख लेते हैं. Question: Proposed India UK and the Free Trade Agreement FTA. Recently, the External Affairs Minister of the India discussed the India UK and Free Trade Agreement FTA and with the Britain's and PM and the Foreign Security, and this round of the talks and come amid the bilaterals and the trade between India and the UK and increased to the 20.36 billions in the 2022 and 23 from the 17.5 billions in the 2021 and 22. Key highlights of the India UK and the FTA and the merchandise trade in India product and like the petroleum, medicines and diamonds and machines, parts and the European and the wooden furnitures and boards. 6 billion face no the tariff in the UK and even the without the FTA, and thus will not and gain from the FTA. Services and areas of the immediate and advantages and for the India's is the proceedings and the UK to issues and the priorities and visas to Indians the professionals and travelings to the UK to the perform and the short term assessments. However, obtaining a large number of the short duration and business and visas from the UK and may not be the easy and is the UK and the aeronosly and the associated visas and with the immigrations, the sensitive issues and seen the Brexits and rule of the origins, and this will ensure and that the products and from the third countries and only the receive an FTA benefits and if they the undergo and sufficient transformation in the exporting and countries. India's refer the conservative rule of the origins compared to the most and the developed countries leading to the extended discussion and the negotiations, government procurements and allowing the UK and procedures to sell to India and the government and procurements and sectors and would brings them or the per with Indian farms. On the other hand, Indian farms and face other competitive and the restricted government and the procurement and market in the UK and with the little business and prospects and India need and to be the conservatives and carefully labor the standard and the gardens. Genders and environment and digital trade and IPRS and India must the make and domestic rules and standard before taking the commitment under the FTS. Until then the India's and must the avoid and talking the onerous and the obligations on the trade issues and significant of the India UK FTA. When signed the India UK and FTA will serve as a and for an agreement and with the India's second India second and trade and partners the European Union EU breaking from the look east policy and for the trade deal and that the so and the beginnings and deficit with the Japan and South Korea and the Asian countries. The government is the countings and on the economically integrations and with the Western and the African nations and to fuel the export growth. Factors that have the pushed and for the India and UK the FTA. The China's factor the disruptions of the supply chains and during the pandemics and the brought home to the Western companies the risk of the overs and independence on the China's and the need for other China plus and one policy. Australia tensions and with the Chinas and along with the complementary territories and with the Indians economics and presented a case for the trade deal and with the India's and similar factors and brought New Delhi and the London to the negotiating and tables. India exciting from the regional and comprehensive economic partnership recap. India after the excitings the China's and dominated the recap and has been looking at the trade deal with the UK, Australia's and the EU to hold of the China's in the regions and supposed Spread by the Brexit, other trade and deal with the Indias is the crucials. And for the UK is the ruling conservatives and face other tough election in early 2015-25. But will India and UK gain the from the India UK FTA India labor intensives and the sectors and such as the appeals and the jumps and jewelries have seen either steep and declines in the market and share over the last 5 years and Indian textiles and the exports. Export face tariff and as high as the 10% in the UK a trade deal and the could put India on the par with the competitions and such other Bangladesh and the revived textile exports and UK the notably and the average and tariff on the goods imported and from the India's and into the UK is the 4.2% and but the average tariff in the India on the goods and imported and from the UK is the 14.6%. British exports to India such as the cars and the scotch and whiskey and the wines and face the considerables and tariff of the 100 से लेकर के 150% tariff reduction on the 10 goods and will the potentially and offer UK the dippers and access into the Indian market. Challenges in the India's UK FTA elimination of the duties and does not the automatically result in the export growth and past the deal with the Japan and the Asian countries and have the shown that also many Indian export and to the already enjoy low and or zero tariff warning from the British Parliament and the granting zero duties and access to the Indian textile under the FTA and could bring stress on least developed and countries such as the Bangladesh and non-tariff barriers. NTBS and modern the FTAs and go the beyond tariff reduction and India's could use the negotiations and to the eliminated and NTBS and that have the historically and been other concern for the exporters and especially for the agri exports. NTBS often can come in the forms of the regulation and standard testing and certifications or the shipments and the inspections and that are the aims at the protecting human animals or the plant health the environment issues of the carbon tax and the like the EU and the UK is the looking into the impose a levy on the metal imports and the based on the carbon emissions and EU style carbon borders and the adjustment and the mechanism and CACBAM and build the heart and India's the export and to the UK even if the India and bins the significant removals of the tariffs. India to bring in other national security strategies and after the years of the deliberations and in the military and the strategic committees and India has the kick-started and the process of the bringings in other national security strategy. The National Security Council strategist terrorist and NSCS is in the process of the collating inputs from the several central and ministries and the department. This is the first time that the India would come out with such a strategy and the national security about either national security strategy documents outlines the country security objectives and the ways to the adopted to achieve those and it is the define the traditional and non-traditional threat and the opportunities while introducing the accountabilities of the agencies tasks with the implementation of the such and the responsibilities. In other nutshell, either national security strategy and would guide the military as well as the crucial defense and the securities and reforms with the strategic implications. And it will the provided other holistic view of the overall national securities, the thread and the main roadmap to address them and the countries having the national security strategy. Most development countries and with and the advanced military and the security infrastructure have the national security strategy in the place and updated and from time to times and the UK, the Russia have the published and national security strategy and China also have. has such other strategy in the place and build the comprehensive national security. Comprehensive national security and which is closely closely tied to its the governance structures. Pakistan to have brought and out other national security policy 2022 and 26. Underlining it is the national security objectives and the prosperities areas criticism. Doctrine normally are the procedures and the strategies and the doctrine is other set of the established or the agreed principle that the guide action other strategy is other plan of action that the emanates and from the doctrine. However, we are the embarking on the draftings and of other national security strategy without the having especially and the articulated and our the national security doctrine. India's need and for other national security strategy and complex the natures and of the various threats, traditional and non-traditional threat and the also resign the geopoliticals and tension has have given the ways to the uncertainties. No constraint document to guide the military and forces. As per security export and the only the political direction and to the armed forces and the existences in the is Raksha Mantri operationals and the directives of the 2009 and it is need to be the revised. Some exports and have also the highlighted and that the major military reforms should ideally and flow from other national security strategy and without such other well defined and strategy and military reforms would be the like putting the car before the horse. And why did the India never have other national security strategy? In the past, three attempts and were made to the comes and out and with other national security and but there was hesitations and aid the political levels. As per the security expert, and it is could have been accused of the QCM because of the accountabilities and it would and the brings indifference management for the government. There has been varying view in the strategic communities in the best over and why India has not the brought over other national security strategy. This varies from the lack of the cohesive and whole of the government and effort to the governments and deliberately and not the makings public. It is the national security objectives. National Security Council and NSC. The National Security Council (NSC) of the India's is and the executive government agency established in the 1998 and the task is with the advising the Prime Minister office on the matters of the national security and the strategic interest. The NSC is the apex and body of the third tiers and the structures of the national security management system in India. The third tiers are the strategic policy groups and the national security advisory board and either secretaries and forms the Joint Intelligence Committee (JCI), the National Security Advisors and NSA and the provides over the NSC. NSC is also the primary advisors to the PM over the security related issues. About the National Security Council strategy NSCS. NSCS is the apex agency looking into the political, economically and agencies. Economically, energy and the strategic security and concern of India, the NSCS has four the verticals. National Cyber Security Coordinators. NCSC and works and under the NCSC and the coordinates with different agencies and aid the national level and for the cyber security matters. Maps plays in news. Etna, Somalia, Malawi, Zanzibar Island, Horn of the Africa, Kawaha Ijan and the Creators Lake, Mount Salina, Benautu Island, Augustawada Island chain and the Kamchatkas Island and Refaha borders crossing and ban the Curians canals and Mount Etna and Rake Gens and the peninsulas and settled. Number 1. Rafah border crossing. Egypt agreed and to the receive and the border bounded and the Palestinians and from the Gazas and the Palestinians and dues the national from its the Rafah and border crossing. The Rafah and crossing is the southernmost and the access point and from the Gaza Strip and the share other border and with the Egypt and the Sinai and the Peninsula. Presently both the Erez and the Karen the Salom and the borders and crossing the controls and by the Israel are the closed and making the Rafah the primarily entry and the exit point for the Gaza's pupils and the humanitarian aid. Settled USA. India is the set and to the open. It is the sixth consulates in the settled and apart from the consulated in the Atlanta and the Chicago's and the Houston's and New York cities and the San Francisco a major hub for the technologies companies such as the Microsoft and the Amazon and Boeing's. Mount Celia Gold Operation Western and the National Minerals and Development Council and NMDC has the expanded and its the minerals and portfolio by the inaugurating the Mount Salinas and Gold Operation in Western Australia. The MT and the Salina project is located 180 kilometers and northeast the Kalgoorlie and is other famous for it's the rich and the gold mining history. The Golden Mila is the vast stretch and of the gold bearing land is located in the Kalgoorlie Boulder area and making it is one of the most and the productive gold minings and region in the world and the Zanzibar Island. IIT Madras has become the first Indian institution of technology to establish and the international campus on the Pictures Square, the Zanzibar Island in East Africa. Kawaha Aegean and the Creator Lakes. The Copernicus and the Sentinels and to the missions and which the provided opticals and the images of the earth surface and the recently captured and the stunning image of the Kawaha and Aegean and Creator's Lake and it is the world largest acidic lakes. It is located and in the crater of the Kawaha an Aegean and volcano center of the East Java and Indonesia. The primary attraction of the Kawaha and the Aegean is it's the stunning and the turquoise and the colored and creators lake and this the vibrance and colors is other result of the high and the concentration of the disclosed the sulfuric and acid and the other minerals on the lake has been the included in the UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve. Kamchatka and the Russia's Kolyachevskaya and the Sopka and recently the erupted and on the Kamchatkas and the peninsula in Russia and the Kilunchev Chebskaya and the Sopka and is other stratovolcanoes and the highest mountain in the Siberia's and the highest active volcano in the Eurasia's and Horn of the Africa. Horn of the Africas and Horn of the Africa face the deadly and the foods and the due to the El Nino. Link about the average range. Horn of Africa face the deadly flood and due to the El Nino and the linked about the average rain. It is covered and the countries and like the Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea and the Djibouti and it is located in the northeast Africa and along the southern boundaries of the Red Sea and it is located and along the south of the Gulf of the Aden and the Horn of the Africa is the UNESCO biodiversity hotspot and none of to the entirely and arid the ones and the Malawi Malawi is the battlings and the over outbreaks and of the scabies. Scabies is scabies and is other skin diseases caused by other parasites and named the sarcoptes and the scabies and which is either teenies and the insect and about the 0.3 millimeter long the cold other mites. The female parasite and burrow under the skin and August Varas and Iceland and Chels. A new Iceland has now the emerged and within the vicinities of the Japan and the August Varas and the Iceland. Chen after the eruptions of and the underwaters and the volcanoes in late October 2023. This the remarkables and the event offers and the intriguing and the insights and into the earth and dynamic and ever the changing the geopolitical, geologicals and process. Ben-Gurion Canals and Ben and the Gurion Canals projected is the proposed and the canal project and through the Strait of Israel it is wood and the connected the Gulf of the Aqaba and to the Mediterranean Sea and the David Van Gurion and for the homes and it is would be the named is considered the founding father of the Israel and was the first prime minister of Israel. The canal and both the rivals and the Suez canals and which the runs and through the Egyptian Mount Etna. Mount Etna, the Europe most active volcano and light up the night sky and with the eruptions and as seen and from the Mount Salto and Del the Can and Italy the November 12 and 2023 and Mount Etna. Mount Etna is the European most the active volcanoes and none of and one of the largest in the world. Somalia was the heavily and flooded and due to the heavy rain after the historics and the drought and around the 1.6 million people in Somalia and could be the affected and by the heavy and seasonals and drawn pours and which have been and the worst needs and by the combined and impact of the two climates and the phenomenons and the El Ninos and the Indian Ocean dipole, Reich Jens and the Peninsula. A state of the emergency has been declared in the Iceland and after the series of the powerful earthquakes and that the rocked the Iceland and countries and the southeastern Reich Janus Peninsula. Iceland is located on the mid-Atlantic ridge and between the Eurasias and the North Americas and tectonic plates and it is the seismics and the volcanic hotspot is the two plates and move in the opposite directions. The Reykjanes Peninsula is the characterized and by the immense lava field and volcano the highlighted and geothermal activities. Vanuatu Iceland and the magnitudes and 6.7 earthquakes and the jolted and the Vanuatu Iceland and near the Australias and recently the Vanuatu is and the Iceland country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. It consists of the chain of the 13 principal and many the smaller and islands located about 500 miles at the 800 kilometers and west of the Fijis and 1100 and miles and 1770 kilometer east of the Australia the Lepeta sites and becomes the venue to and first the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2008. Satluj River 5 and the Handle and the Marak 3 and the Lembru Elephant Reserve 7 and Brahmani Reserve 6 and Shwanshiri River, Agartala and the Akharuas and rail links and the Kadalungdi. Subansiri Lower Hydroelectronic Project. The Subansiri Lowers and the hydroelectrical project faced other setbacks. When other landslide and blocked the only and the functionals and diversion channels and stopped the flow of the water and the downstream of the dam into the Subansiri and rivers, a major the tributaries of the Brahma. Putras, it is the India's and largest the dihydals project under the constructions about the Subansiri rivers. The Subansiri 518 kilometer, also called the Gold Rivers, is other trains and the Himalayas and rivers and the largest tributaries of the upper and the Brahmaputra river. It is flow into India and through the Miri hills of the Arunachal Pradesh. Agartala Akhaura. It is the railway link established and between the Bangladesh and India. It is hubs and to the re-established connectivity and between the Bangladesh and India's northeastern and through the Tripura. It will also help in India to the access the port of the Chattogram and in the Bangladesh through the shortest route and thus the benefits overseas trade. Hangle and the Merak and the Ladakh. The Hangle and the Marak observatories in the Ladakh in which capture the photographs of the night sky, supported red and the aurora, the phenomenons and the uncommons in India. Henley is and the ideals and places to the observe the phenomenons. The phenomenons is it is the India only the dark sky reserve and about the Ureras and they are the formed and when the change charges particles and from the suns and mainly the electrons and the protons and interact with the earth and the magnetospheres and the atmospheres and northern lights auroras and the borealis and the southern light auroras australias are the main auroras. They are seen in the northern hemispheres and southern hemisphere. Kadlungi and the mud flats. Sand and the sedimentations is the cusings, the mud flats and of the Kudlungi and to the vanish. Researchers have identified and there the shrinkings and the mud flat and ecosystem of Kerala and the Kadalungi. Kadalungi keeps and the shore words away and Kadalungi and on the southwest and coast and had about the 8 hectares and of the nutrient and rich the inter and tiddles and the mud flats and in the early 2000s. Today the expenses of the mud flat in the estuary and of the Kada and the Lundi Jas and rivers has reduced and to the just about 1 hectares. This to the gradually wings covered with the sand and the deprivings and prey to the thousands of the shorebird there the migrates and from the colders coldest climates in winter to the Kadalungi and village in the Kode district. River Satluj. Recently, a team of the researchers and from the Indian Institution of the Technology (IIT) Ropers and found the presence of the tantalums and a rare metal in the Satluj rivers and Satluj river sand in Punjab about the tantalum. It is other rare metals and with the atomics and the rivers numbers and 73 the numbers of the protons and found in one the atoms of the elements. The rare air metals and has been the named and after other green methodological figures and the tantalum it is the grey heavy. It is the grey tantalum. It is the grey, heavy, and very hard, and one of the most and the corrosive and resistance metals. And this is in the use today. It is possess and high the corrosions and resistance because and when the exposed to airs, it is forms and the oxide and layers, and that is the extremely difficult. difficult to remove, and even when it is the interacted. River Brahmani. The Odisha's government has the roped in the IIT Guwahati and four other physicals and the mathematics modelings and study for the rejuvenations of the Brahmanis and rivers delta. It is other majors and the interested east the following the river almost the peninsular rivers in India. The rivers is now as the Dhamras and in its the lowers and reaches. The Brahmani river and basin is the bounded and in the north by the Chota Nagpurs and plateaus in the west and the south, by the Mahanadi and basin and in the east and by the Bay of Bengal. Limru Elephant Reserve. The Unions and Coal the Military Ministry recently said that the Coal India Limited and CIL 40 coal blocks in and around the Lemrus and Elephant or Corridor LEC and will not be the nationals and on the request and of the Chhattisgarh government, and it is the Korba districts of Chhattisgarh. Major hotspot in the world. California forest and the Mesopotamia Tropic of Cancer and the tropic address and central Chiles and Brazil Atlantic forces and succulents and the Koru and Cape the Floric and the provinces. West African forest. Brazil Caribbean and the Caribbeans and the Mediterranean basin.